Hi, right now we're going to be looking at finding the least common denominator. And this occurs whenever we are adding and subtracting fractions. That's whenever we want to use this. Now in this case, I wrote two fractions here. In reality, it could be so many more, right? It isn't dependent upon just having two, but we're going to focus on two to start with. So this is what I want to do. I just want to look at my bottom numbers. I'm just going to essentially ignore these top numbers, pretend they're not even there, and look directly at these two numbers. Now, my least common, least means the lowest, right? Common means what they have in common, what they both have. And denominator is referring to the bottom number of our fraction, right? So in definition, I'm looking for the lowest number that the bottom numbers in our fractions have in common. That's my goal. So let's look at these two numbers. I have 3 and I have 7. So I'm going to write my 3 here and I'm going to write my 7. Now, I could spend a lot of time thinking through, well, how many multiples of 3 do I have? I could count by threes, right? 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24, 27, and I could keep going, right? All the way up. Now 7, I can do the same thing. I've got 7, 14, 21, 28, 35, 42, and so forth, right? Now again, what I want to do is to find the lowest one they have in common. Well, they don't have a 3 in common, or a 7, or a 6, or a 14, or a 9. But what I'm noticing right here is that they do indeed have in common a 21. So that's what I'm looking for is, no, there's not a 12, there's not a 15, there's not an 18, but there is a 21. Now, if we kept going and counting, we would find more. But what we're looking for, again, is our lowest one. So if I wanted to add these fractions, I would be finding ways to make these two fractions the same on the bottom. So let's look at a couple other numbers, just so we get the hang of this. So let's just say, for instance, I have maybe a 9 on the bottom. I'll just take a number up here just so we can see it in reality. And maybe I have a plus, let's do 11 and 3. Now, again, I'm looking for what do they have in common that's bigger than them that they both go into. So this is what I do whenever I'm solving these. I do not write all the multiples of both numbers. What I focus on is the largest one. So I'm going to say, okay, my multiples of 11 are 11. Does 9 go into 11? No. Next would be 22. Does it go into 22? No. What about 33? No. 44. And I'm going to keep going up until I find a number that 9 will divide into. So no. 88. No. 99. Yes. And so all of a sudden I have found this without having to go through and write 9, 18, 27, blah, 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 all the way up to there. Because I know there's not going to be anything lower because we just proved it. So again, I pick the largest number and I go from there. So let's say, for instance, I have, I don't know, a 3/5 and maybe a 5/7. So again, just focusing on the denominators, a 5 and a 7, I'm going to start with my multiples of 7. Does 5 divide into 7? No. Into 14? No. Into 21? Nope. Into 28? Nope. Into 35? Yes. And so now I have my least common denominator. So this is also true if I have more than 2. Maybe I have a 2/3 and I have a 5/6, and maybe I have a 3, we'll do 10, 3/10. Now, in this case, I have 3 denominators. So I'm looking for 3, 6, and 10, a number they all go into. So again, I'm picking my largest one, and I'm saying my first one is 10. Does 3 divide into it? No. So it doesn't matter if 6 does or not. As long as there's one no, we're moving on. 20. Does 3? Nope. Moving on. 30. Does 3? Yes. Does 6? Also yes. If it was no, we'd have to go to the next one. but they both go into 30. So my least common denominator would be 30. So if I were to add these fractions, I would say, great, how do I make this 30? How do I make this 30? And how do I make this one 30? And I would go from there. So this is a process finding least common denominator. There are multiple ways. I find this is probably the quickest. Have a great day.